Next on Worcester News Tonight, what law enforcement in central Massachusetts are saying about the worst mass shooting in U.S. history. Plus, one man is dead after an early morning fire in Grafton. Worcester's police chief talks security in the city after the largest mass shooting in our country's history. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anna Botari. Nearly 24 hours later, 59 are dead and hundreds are injured after a gunman opened fire at a country music festival in Las Vegas. Here in Worcester, the shooting could have impacts on future events here in the city. Our Cam Jandro now joins us live with more. Cam?
Anna, Las Vegas may be 2,700 miles away, but there's no denying the impacts this shooting will have nationwide. I caught up with city leaders to see what Sunday's shooting means for security here in Worcester.
The country's largest mass shooting at an outdoor concert in Las Vegas is sparking reaction from Worcester's law enforcement community. Police Chief Stephen Sargent says he will take a closer look at how they secure outside venues here in the city.
We also have to make sure now that the outsides are secure, that anything, any possibilities, we need to be prepared for.
In Las Vegas, the shooter was outside of the concert. Sargent says ensuring safety around a venue is difficult.
I know what it took for us to have President Obama come, and what it took to secure those areas, to make sure that the outside was just as secure as the inside. It's just a logistical nightmare.
Worcester has several facilities hosting concerts and outdoor events, like the Coleman behind City Hall. City Manager Edward Augustus believes the city has done its best to ensure events like what happened in Las Vegas are avoided here in Worcester.
I think we're doing anything and everything that we can to stay ahead of things, but things just seem to be changing constantly, and we're always vigilant and we're always trying to learn from other communities.
The Clark County Sheriff's Office confirms 59 people are dead and more than 500 are injured. Sargent says while he wishes he didn't have to, it's important to learn from what happened.
What did they do before? What was their original plan? What would their plan be now? What do best practices we can get from this on how to save lives and to actually to stop these things, to stop them from happening. It's just, there's too many of them.
Now, Chief Sargent says next week he'll be attending the International Chiefs of Police Conference, where he hopes to learn more on the law enforcement side of this tragedy. Anna?
Thanks, Cam. A Worcester gun shop says after recent mass shootings, they've seen an increase, but it's not in sales. According to the chief operations officer at Coleman Arms, they see a rise in the number of people wanting to get their license to carry. After the nightclub shooting in Orlando and the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary, they saw an increase in the number of people taking the NRA certified classes they offer.
Thank you. People will be like, oh, you know what, I could have been there and I could have done something to prevent that. A lot more people will want to know how to get their license to carry, and they'll go forth and they'll go ahead and do that. We'll probably see an uptick in the classes that we offer here for that.
Merritt says the NRA certified trainer is the one who takes the calls to set up the class, so they won't know the total number in the next class until they come in on their first day. Worcester's Emergency Management Division says the city is prepared for a situation like what happened in Las Vegas. But as our Rosalind Flaherty explains, it would take all the city's resources.
Worcester's Emergency Management Director says you can never prepare for an incident like the mass shooting in Las Vegas.
They're at a concert in an open venue. If someone is decisive and determined to carry out bad things at a large-scale event like that, it's hard to prevent something like that.
Dozens of people are dead and more than 500 injured after a gunman opened fire on a music festival crowd from a hotel window in Las Vegas.
Anytime there's an incident like this is the time where everybody looks back and thinks, could this happen to me? Could this happen here?
The Emergency Management Center is responsible for planning if something major happens in the city. Richard Fisk says Worcester is prepared to respond to a tragedy like this, but it wouldn't be easy.
There is no one city or one agency that could possibly say, oh, we could respond to this easily. It would max our resources out. It would max any community's resources out.
Terrified bystanders ducked and ran from the gunshots. Harry Jacobs, a Worcester native, lives 10 miles south of the Vegas Strip.
Knocking a couple of windows out of a hotel and shooting at an event, at an open lot across the street. is, it's horrible. And that space across the street from Mandalay Bay has been wide open for years. They've been talking about what to do with it, and I think, it's just a huge tragedy.
Closer to home, Fisk says although this is a terrible situation, people still need to live their life without fear.
Not to be paranoid or to be scared or to not participate in these public activities, just when you do, to be aware of what's around you. And we've said it for many years, if you see something, say something.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
A local fire department is requesting additional equipment to protect officials in the event of an active shooter. Auburn Fire Rescue says they're in the process of adding ballistic protection gear to the department. Fire Chief Stephen Coleman says they've implemented more training on active shooters in recent years. Chief Coleman says he never would have imagined having to train for these scenarios years ago, and now they're preparing as much as they can.
We recently just got Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee approval to submit an article to the annual town meeting to purchase ballistic protection, bulletproof vests for our ambulances and fire trucks. The amount and the level of active threat training that we've had to employ with even from a fire rescue standpoint is much more today than we've ever had to do in the history of the American Fire Service.
Well, one man is dead after an early morning fire in South Grafton. The 2-alarm fire started here on Main Street just after 7 a.m. While the fire remains under investigation, the state fire marshal's office says it appears to be accidental. The victim's identity has not yet been released, but he is described as an older man. Election Day here in the city is just about a month away. Tonight, the first in a series of debates is held at Mechanics Hall. The 7 candidates for school committee met to discuss the future of the Worcester Public Schools. All 6 of the current school committee members are running for re-election, and Dante Camparetto is the sole challenger. They discussed a range of topics, including getting proper funding. The executive director of the Research Bureau says this debate is important because the school system is developing its first strategic plan in 25 years.
This is critical. The Worcester Public Schools is going through a strategic planning process. The Research Bureau is working on with the Worcester Education Collaborative and the Worcester Public Schools. And so, these are the folks who will lead the schools over the next 2 years and, hopefully work together to help cement them as a critical part of the community and its growth.
The Research Bureau, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Telegram and Gazette are hosting the debates at Mechanics Hall. There'll be one for district council candidates, one for at-large council candidates, and one for mayoral candidates. UMass Memorial Healthcare launches its new electronic medical record system this weekend. Epic will be used by all of the UMass Memorial offices, its 13,000 employees and thousands of patients. The new system replaces about 120 other software systems. Employees have gone through training over the past few weeks, and in the meantime, about 1,200 contractors have been brought in to assist with any questions.
All my stuff comes up for... Another advantage for our patients is that they will have online access to their clinical information. It's called MyChart. So we've already enrolled, I want to say 3,000, it's probably 6,000 by this time today. Patients like myself who can go in and see my record, my care that I've received at any UMass provider, either a physician outpatient or inpatient on any of our campuses.
The system costs about $700 million and will be paid for over the next 10 years. Today was the first day a new system has been put into place at all Massachusetts state inspection sites. As our Brittany Schaefer explains, many Worcester auto shops had initial problems with the system and say more vehicles could have issues passing inspection under the new process.
It'll be hectic for a couple of days, but we'll get through it.
A change to the state inspection system created its share of problems. Ramstrom Service Center in Worcester had to turn away some customers this morning.
This morning we started it up. We had a few hiccups. Now with the new process, everybody's getting used to how it's working. We got jammed up this morning.
The new process will have inspectors take pictures of the vehicle's license plates, VIN number, and mileage, all while being recorded by video cameras. Ramstrom says this will result in many more cars failing the inspection.
Rot is going to be the big thing. The rocker panels around the doors and the fenders. We can't have that anymore. Because now with the cameras are going to see all. Big thing with license plates. A lot of it was the green license plates. The behind the white, that's the reflective. That fades off.
A-plus technology technician Guy Malloy flew in from Utah this morning to aid in the system change.
Camera's working good. As far as the pictures you got that figured out.
Malloy fixed the issues at Ramstrom's in a few hours and says the system will be beneficial.
I'm a big fan of it. There's a lot of new technology. With new technology comes great things, and also it can have its setbacks, its bugs, but that's with anything.
Ramstrom says the new system will be more organized, but it costs garages like his a lot of money.
New machine was $8,500, and we didn't get a raise, so I don't think a lot of people realize that that burden was passed on to us. The inspection stations had to pay that.
Now Ramstrom says inspection times could take a little longer due to the more thorough process in taking pictures. Again, illegally tinted windows, license plates with no reflectors, and rust will cause you to fail inspection. Brittany Schaefer, Worcester.